What is up, everybody? Just a couple days away from real football being played and just a day away from joint practices. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about training camp. We got some other things on our mind. We'll get to you next. All right. Welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And it's been a while, but I got my guy, So Real, Sunil, in the building. What's up, Sunil?
Man, oh man, Jesse, has it not been a while? Glad to be, back in the swing of things. That if we're talking, that means football's right around the corner, which is a good season to be in, man. So excited about streaming with you weekly again. Excited about football being back, man. Let's get it.
Well, for those of you that don't know, Sunil looks a little bit different because my man got married recently. Congratulations, brother. Congratulations.
Thank you, my man. Yeah, man, a lot of big moves. This is a big year. Obviously, you've been part of the process throughout the whole, but made a big move. Not of California anymore. Moved to Las Vegas. Bought a house with my now wife, and yeah, now you see the setup, man. It doesn't look like just the white walls, and I'm not going to be in a different hotel room every single week. Like I'll be here in front of this setup week after week, man. So excited about that. Excited to, put a little bit more effort into my channel as well. Yeah, so big things are happening this year, man.
Yeah, man, a lot of good stuff. You lost a little bit of weight, looking good. Golly, Sunil,
Thank you.
the glow up is crazy, brother.
Sometimes you just gotta pop out and show them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly. You live in Vegas now, so you don't have to act like, you're in LA and stuff. All right. Oh, man. All right. So, what I like about this show in particular is that we haven't discussed any of the topics at all. We really haven't. I mean, we've talked as of late, but not 49ers at all.
Mhm.
So I don't know like what your thoughts are on everything that's going on. So I have some questions for you, but we'll just start with training camp in general. Like, is there anything that you've read, a report you've seen that's just kind of stood out to you, whether it's a certain player playing well, how the rookies are doing, injuries, like anything? What's on your mind with training camp? What are your thoughts so far?
I mean, I think there's some positive stuff and there's some negative. Obviously, the negative is just the injuries to the wide receiver room, right? It's kind of to the point where you're like, well, who's gonna be there? Like, it's kind of I forgot what position it was last week or last season where we are just like, anybody off the street, can you just come in and suit up and play, right? And it seems like every year the 49ers have that position where they just get bit by the injury bug. Maybe it was a linebacker. I don't remember, but
I
this
think it
year's
was the lineman, defensive lineman. I felt like
yeah, it
was
was defensive
everybody was
lineman.
hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, so unfortunately, right now it's the wide receiver room. To me, that's a little bit tough, just because obviously Brock needs, whatever you think about Brock. Obviously, any quarterback is better when you have, your weapons with you, and it seems like those top weapons that on paper the 49ers offense was going to look really, really good with, where are they now, right? So we're going to be dependent on a lot of young players or new players to the system. We know that wide receiver in the Kyle Shanahan system is intricate. You got to know where you need to be. There's a lot of blocking involved. There's a lot of running routes precisely without the ball even coming your way to set up something that's going to happen 3-4 plays. So there's a certain mentality that you have to have with playing wide receiver for the 49ers. And I was pretty excited going into the season, with the rumors maybe Brandon Ayuk was going to be there earlier than anticipated. Ayuk, Jennings, Pearsall, and those guys. You thought we had a lot on paper, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case moving in, just because of the injuries and so on and so forth. But on a positive note, Jesse, seeing a first round pick by the 49ers, actually be praised like he's a first round pick and going out there and performing. Man, it's been a long time since this regime has hit on I mean, the last one probably Nick Bosa or Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk was getting a lot of praise during his rookie training camp as well. But they usually don't perform in training camp, and usually you don't hear all of this excitement around a first round draft pick from the 49ers. So hearing that, and then they seem like they got their nickel in Upton Stout too, which is great because that moves Demo to just focus on being CB1 on this team. That I like seeing, and just all of the hype or realized hype around Salah being there. This defense has been the reason why this team has always competed, and it looks like they have the pieces and the horses and obviously the coaching to get back to that status. So that's what I'm excited about. Little bit worried about what the offense is going to look like if Purdy doesn't have anybody to throw to.
Yeah, I think ultimately we'll be okay because the way that I see it is like Ricky Pearsall, he shouldn't play on the outside, but you can manufacture touches for him. You can get him free releases. You can get him in motion if he's the slot receiver. Get him to where DBs can't put their hands on him, and I think that right there, he's an ultimate weapon, regardless of who's on the outside because of that. And then you add in Kittle and CMC, the safety blanket for Brock Purdy. Either way, I think they'll be okay. But it is interesting because the defense really should have been the concern on paper kind of coming into this thing. And it's almost like it's flipped in a lot of people's minds. Upton Stout's come in. He seems to be this leader who's also a baller. And then, Nick Martin's doing really well. The defensive line's getting solidified with the young players. Like the whole defense seems like it's coming together really well. And the offense, to your point, is kind of falling apart, whether through injury or what have you. And it's supposed to be the offense with CMC and Kittle and Trent Williams and Brock and Jennings and Ayuk when he's healthy that should be good. And then we should have questions about the defense. No games have been played. We'll see how it goes. But right now, early in camp, it's like more of the concerns are definitely on the offensive side, oddly enough.
Yeah, you would say more of the continuities on the offensive side, but it seems like the defensive side, at least, from the reports, and who knows, right? I don't know. Everybody has a narrative when it comes to these type of things, but it does seem like the defensive side is gelling a little bit more. And like I said, like I said earlier, I mean, if I were to pick what side would I want to be better, as far as like which side is better of the ball, we've already seen how it works out if the defense is better than the offense, and usually that team is competing and going really, really far into the playoffs. So that's a good sign, but we don't want it to be just because the offense can't do anything, right? So hopefully they could get back to where we want them to be, but it's very promising to see the defense coming back because obviously last year there was a lot of games where we needed them to play a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got what's up, Dave? Stop super chatting, brother. Just be in the chat. He says, "What's up, guys? Hope you're both well. Go Niners." I haven't seen an email from you, Dave. Glad that you're in here, following up on what we were talking about. So hit me up. Let me know that you got everything. And then Joseph has a good question here, and I'll pose this to you as well, Sunil. He says, "Jesse, would you trade BA, Jawan Jennings, and a third-round pick for Terry McLaurin and Luke McCaffrey? What would you do here?"
No. I mean, I love Scary Terry. I love Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
But BA and JJ, I think that's a lot to give up, even with the injury concerns, right? We don't want to focus on just this year. BA, people forget how good BA has been for the 49ers, right? Like he is not only a baller on the field, but the reports off the field, what he's doing with that rookie room is amazing. And I think that us as a fan base need to give him the opportunity to get healthy and earn and show why the 49ers gave him the contract that he gave. I remember 2 years ago, Jesse, I was coming in with stats that if BA hit a certain amount of yardage, and it was something like if he got at least 60 yards per game, the 49ers were winning, right? Just because
Yeah.
of what an impact that he makes. He's been a safety net for Brock Purdy as well, and he's gotten all of these numbers when he was having ridiculous numbers, Jesse, with not as much opportunity as most receivers do to be as productive. So I just want to see BA in the system as the number one option, and him really getting force fed the ball, 8 to 10 times per game. And really see, I think he's going to be legit 49er receiver for a long time coming, as long as he could get healthy. And JJ, man, neither of those guys that you mentioned, the trade, neither of those guys bring the intensity that JJ does during as a wide receiver blocking, which is very, very important for the run game for the 49ers. And JJ is the epitome of what a 49er receiver blocking needs to be. I wish there was a way. Now, if it was JJ and some picks to get Terry, that is something that I would be open to, but I think BA is kind of untouchable, man. Like, he's a really good receiver. He's one of my favorite players. Maybe I'm biased, but I think that's a lot of talent to give up, for Terry, who's definitely proven, and Luke, who still we don't know what he is as a player.
Yeah, for me, I think it's a little bit too rich for me as well. And Terry's a couple years older than Brandon Ayuk. Now, Brandon Ayuk is coming off the injury, and we hope that he can get back to that. And the way that we're discussing Brandon Ayuk is as if it's pre-injury Brandon Ayuk. We don't know what he's necessarily going to be, and so that is a crapshoot. Will he fully be back? And if he is, how long does it take? It probably won't happen this year, but next year. And there's a lot that plays into it. But I do believe in BA, and I went through and I watched every snap this year. Tried to actually do it on the channel with everybody, and YouTube sniped the stream because of copyright. But either way, we were watching, and then I went back and watched it all. BA was open a ton last year, a ton. He can't throw himself the ball. He can't call his own number from Kyle Shanahan, what have you. But he was still getting open at the clip that he always had, which was crazy. After week one was a little sluggish, but after that week, he was open on a regular basis, and he just wasn't getting the ball. So, I think he's still going to be a really good player. The health is definitely a question. The 49ers 25, and I lost the comment, but I do know that it was you, 49ers 25. You said that the 49ers should try to trade for Malachi Corley from the Jets. I agree. It was a thought that I had this offseason. I don't know if I ever brought it up on the show, but if they're trying to replace Deebo Samuel, he's supposed to be like Deebo light. The Jets have a new regime. They didn't draft Malachi Corley. He's only in year 2, I believe. So yeah, they should, if he's available, add to this wide receiver group. Don't necessarily be trading pieces away. All right, I have a couple other questions for you before we get into some of the preseason stuff and joint practices and the depth chart and what have you. A couple of big pieces have happened. One is the Jawan Jennings piece, which we were just talking about him as far as a trade scenario. He's got this calf injury, or does he? Is he holding in? We don't necessarily know, but would you pay Jawan Jennings if you're the 49ers? I mean, they've put a lot of assets into the wide receiver position. Now you've got another player who's very good, but he wants to be paid as well. Should the 49ers pay him, or should they just have him play out his contract and move on after this year?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see one more year of what we have with JJ there, like to see,
Yeah.
hey, can Ricky Pearsall take that next step? What do we have in a Jacob Cowing, right? To see kind of those replacement pieces, are they enough to let go of a guy like JJ? But I don't know, is JJ just asking for more money, or does he want more years as well? I'm
He
assuming it's
wants a
probably both, right?
he wants both. Yeah, he definitely wants
Yeah.
both.
I mean, look, I think we've had this scenario in other positions, and to come to something that comes to mind is when Raheem Mostert was the guy that was kind of like outplayed his
Yeah.
contract, and the 49ers kind of did right by him in the sense they gave him more money for that year, but they didn't commit to him long term. because, for whatever flexibility and things like that. I'm wondering if they could do something like that with JJ. Like, I don't want JJ going into the year like unhappy. Like he has outplayed his contract, even though, obviously he signed that contract just, a couple years ago, but his need now has changed for the 49ers. And it would be nice, from a player's perspective, and just to do right by the player, you know, give him whatever guarantees you want or up his contract for this year without necessarily adding years to the contract. Because the truth is, for as good as he is, he's at most going to be wide receiver 2 for the 49ers. And the 49ers, if everything goes to plan, he's not even going to be that for the 49ers, right? They've invested in the wide receiver position to have replacements in Pearsall, Cowing, and, obviously going into the draft there, we always know a wide receiver is something that they're looking at to draft in the top 3 rounds as well. So that would be ideal for me. I would want to give him money, but not more years. I don't know if that's a scenario. And then also, man, I mean, the calf injury, if that's real, that's the worst injury, like, because we know calf turns into Achilles very, very quick. So I'm hoping that this is all negotiation and that calf isn't, as bad as it is. But yeah, I think hopefully they come to some kind of terms that he gets more money. The 49ers get a chance to see him kind of what he has and what he looks like and what they have in the wide receiver room. And then next offseason, they could talk about whether or not, adding more years, adding more money, depending on, what they have in the wide receiver room.
Yeah, you bring up a really, really good solution and also a really good point with the calf injury. If the calf injury is real, you can't do anything. You gotta make him show that he's healthy before you do
Mm-hmm.
anything. I like that stopgap solution of, hey, make him happy, because you don't want a Charvarius Ward situation where he was like, listen, I didn't care about last year at all, even before the season started, because I knew I wasn't going to be a 49er. But if you give him some more money without adding years, he still gets to be a free agent at the end of the year, get one more chance at a payday. That makes total sense. I love that. And then from JJ's standpoint, it's pretty clear like why he would want to get paid. He's 28 years old. He's really never had a second contract. I mean, the one that he did last year was like he bypassed the tender. They worked on a short little 2-year deal, but that was such a small amount. I mean, he's got this year, maybe next year, if he can perform this year, to actually get paid. After that, he turns 30, and that's, all bets are off, and he's year to year, team to team. So I understand why he wants to get paid. I really do like the solution you came up with, though. I think that's the perfect answer. Make him happy. Also let him be a free agent. I look at a guy like Jawan Jennings, and it's nothing against him. He's amazing. I love that he's, when he's on the team, he is an amazing blocker. Third down and Jawan would have been Super Bowl MVP. I get all of that. But to me, not everybody's a core player. I understand that he embodies what the 49ers want as far as the type of play that he brings with his aggressiveness, but not every player can be a future core guy. You can't pay everybody. And if Dre Greenlaw and Charvarius Ward didn't fit that bill, then I'm sorry, Jawan Jennings doesn't either. And I'm totally okay not signing him to an extension. I am, especially at 28 years old. When you've invested in Watkins and Cowing and Pearsall and Ayuk, you already have Kittle and CMC. It's just, you don't need all of the guys, right?
Yep,
So Jawan Jennings for me I would be fine moving on from him.
for sure. And that money is freed up for other positions that, they
Right.
need to pay, because they definitely need to put more money on that D line, right? Obviously, the rookies, hopefully they pan out, but a rookie that pan out turns into somebody that needs to get paid here pretty soon. So you don't want all your money locked up on, in the wide receiver room.
Absolutely. Before we go further, I just want to shout out to the chat. Appreciate you guys all contributing. If you can, it's free to do. Just hit the little like button. That'll push it out to the algorithm, get more people in here. Definitely. I mean, I'm on with Sunil. It's been a long time since Sunil's been here. So get the people flooded in here. And the way you can do that is hit that like button for us. Would be appreciated. All right. I got one more question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Jake Moody
Oof.
won the competition. What were your thoughts when they went ahead and moved on from Joseph?
He won the competition, much like the winner of Survivor wins
Right.
on a reality TV show. I mean, look, this is a pride move, I think. Ultimately, like they used a third round draft pick to pick this guy, and where they have to, they have to ride with it. How are you gonna admit that what people looked at as a dumb pick in the first place, right? How are you gonna give up? They've already kind of looked bad with the Trey Lance pick, right? Um, I think that this is just something where it's like, hey, it's close enough to where the tie goes to the guy we drafted. And I don't know, man. I mean, like what I don't know the kicker, Jesse, that got better over time, right? In the sense like there's kickers that have been really good and then they got better, but the kicker that just sucked and then turned into this like sure-footed clutch type kicker. I don't know what I don't know what that story is or who that player is. And Jake Moody unfortunately has shown me enough that he's shaky in the big moments, which is the number one thing you want out of a kicker is that he's sure-footed in those moments. And I just have, I don't know. This is all fugazi math and this is all feelings over facts, but I think the 49ers should just stop drafting players from Michigan because they never pan out and they always, especially in the third round. Maybe it's the third round. Like, hey, don't draft anybody from Michigan in the third round because there's been too many of these guys that just haven't panned out. Jake Moody, Ambry Thomas, and the list goes on and on and on. So, yeah, I mean, look, he's the guy, but I wouldn't be surprised, Jesse, if that leash is short. And we've seen multiple teams kind of pick somebody up midseason because of injuries or whatever. And I don't think Jake Moody is making it through this season unless he's clutch and legit throughout.
Over or under 1.5 games blown because of Jake Moody's right leg?
I don't think it makes it to over one game. I think he blows it in one game and they pull him. Like they've seen it, right? He doesn't get
Yeah.
better. It's not like he's blown a game and then he's been clutch. Like no, he's the games that he's been clutch, Jesse, are because he's blown other opportunities earlier in that game. You know what I mean? So it's not like the team is floundering and then he's been clutch. No, it's because they put you in positions, you've missed field goals that made this game closer than what it needs to be. And then you end up, kicking the game-winning field goal because they gave you so many opportunities. And I just think that there's been enough there that if he shows that he's shaky, maybe even in the preseason, I think that they go a different route.
Here's my issue, and I knew this was going to happen about a week before it went down. I said there is no competition here. Like, if it's even close, Jake Moody's going to be given the nod because that's who they spent the third round pick on. And in this instance, they needed roster spots, so they're not going to carry two kickers. But Joseph, actually, if there was a competition, the only way that you can judge a competition is by makes and misses. And Moody lost that competition, yet it still got the job. Like I said, if it was close, whatever. Also, Jake Moody is good in practice. He's always been good in practice. That is not the problem. So you are never going to see Jake Moody falter enough in practice to where all of a sudden you were moving on from him. The fact that they couldn't even get to preseason game number 1 and at least get game kicks in, that blows my mind. And Shanahan and these guys can say whatever they want about Jake Moody. Oh, well, it was a high ankle sprain and we brought him back too early and that's our fault. All of that is great. But clearly he has the yips enough to change his approach to kicking. Regardless of why he missed them last year, he thought to himself, man, I'm so unconfident in my kicking game that I'm going to change my approach this offseason, my lead up to the actual kick, because I am uncomfortable I think once kickers get the yips, it's really hard to turn that around. Maybe Jake Moody can. I really hope that he can, but it to me, I feel like this is headed for disaster. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope that I am. I can't trust this guy. I really can't.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know how much of the fan base is really behind him. He seems like somebody that does get affected by the belief in him or not. It just, I think that, for everything I praise Shanahan about, this is one move that I feel like, was easy. It was an easy move to make, right? You got rid of your defensive coordinator, you got rid of your special teams coordinator. You're okay. You understand that clean slates can happen. I think this position could have been easily the same. Cut him. I don't think anybody would have batted an eye. They would have been like, yeah, it makes sense. He's lost games. He hasn't been consistent, so on and so forth. And you mentioned this a lot, man. There's so many of these undrafted guys that just come in and are just really good, and we're not even getting a chance to see what else is out there, because you're kind of, I guess, blinders on. I mean, I get it. Like, I do think, Jesse, if there wasn't as many injuries, they would have let the kicking competition go on longer. But the fact that you still need this guy to prove himself should be already enough that he's not the guy, right? In year 3, if you're still not sure, go find somebody that you're sure about.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. All right, let's talk a little bit about this depth chart here. I don't know how well you guys can see it. I don't know how well you can see it, Sunil. But maybe at the very least you have the text that I sent you with the picture. Is there anything about this depth chart that stands out to you? Again, this is unofficial, right? So it is what it is. There were a couple surprises for me though that I was like, are they, are they trying to like just light a fire with some of these rookies? Like, to me, it's pretty clear that Gibbons and Jordan Elliott shouldn't be the starting tackles. CJ West shouldn't be the third defensive tackle on the depth chart behind Kalia Davis, especially the way that he's been dominating supposedly. So to me, that definitely stood out. What else? Was there anything that stood out to you about this depth chart?
Nothing too crazy, man. I just know not to read into these things too
Yeah.
much, like, especially with the 49ers. They 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 usually, these don't end up being what really ends up being the case. So I honestly, man, I didn't really look too deep into it. I know you sent it to me, but nothing really stood
Yeah,
out. I took
I
a bruise
think
and I just said whatever.
yeah, to me honestly, it's just the rookies. So like CJ West being third uh, ish. I mean, technically he's really behind Alfred Collins, Kalia Davis, Givens, and Jordan Elliott. So he's the fifth defensive tackle on the depth chart with Evan Anderson. And then also Trey Brown slotted in as the starter over Upton Stout. I don't think that this is going to hold. If, again, it's unofficial. I totally get that. I just, I guess my biggest takeaway is I don't see this holding up at all.
For sure.
But what I do like about it, I guess, if this is, I know it's unofficial, but this tells me that if it is what they're thinking right now, this means that these rookies are going to play a lot in the preseason. And that is actually really, really good news. Because I was wondering about that. Like, if these guys are starters, you got to rely on them. How much you actually going to play them? Are you going to play them like they're the starters? But I feel like these rookies need the reps. And so for me, I'm excited. I just want to see these guys in live action. Like, I'm tired of hearing about how awesome they are in camp. Can we just see it in the game? That's what I'm looking forward to.
Absolutely, man. And look, no matter how much, because the 49ers, they're known to have really good practices and really intense practices and things like that. But nothing is like game speed, right? And these rookies, they haven't felt that in the NFL. So, that's what's great about these joint practices. Hopefully they'll see a little bit more of that. But more importantly, preseason, because what you don't want is their first look at game speed be like the beginning of the season and they just are
Right.
trying to play catch up, right? Because ultimately, the way that this team is positioned, they're going to lean on these rookies to really be impactful or at least be able to do their job and hold up their end, because of the depth that they don't have in veterans. These rookies, they definitely need to play well sooner than later for this team to compete.
Yeah. Oh, completely agree. And that the other thing too with the rookies is that it's like you get that rookie wall that you hit every year too. We even saw it with Dominic Pooney, who was an awesome player last year, but he started to hit that rookie wall because these guys aren't used to playing that many games.
Yep.
It's a long season. And so, even if you start out great, a lot of times you're going to hit that rookie wall, and it's normal. It's completely normal, but they've really got to rely on a lot of these guys, to your point. So I'm looking forward to seeing these guys in the preseason for sure. There's more about the preseason that I'm looking forward to, but these joint practices come up first, and those are tomorrow. So I'm curious to know, what are you looking for in these joint practices? What do you want to see out of these joint practices? I can't wait for the reports. I hope that all the reporters are just on the money tomorrow, man. Be paying attention like you never have before. I got to hear some crazy things coming out of this because Denver's got some good players, man. They're one of the teams that I really respect. I think people are kind of maybe questioning how good Denver is. I know they didn't beat a lot of good quarterbacks last year. So how good is the defense really? I look at Denver as one of those teams that really could sneak their way into a Super Bowl if everything kind of falls right for them. So what are your thoughts on these joint practices with the Broncos?
Yeah, man. I'm looking for one side and one side only, and I'm gonna see how this offense pans out, right?
Yeah.
That's what's most important to me. Um, I trust the defense with Salah, and I know that they're gonna be ready to go. All of the most important pieces on the defensive side are still with really good players that know the system and things like that. The offense is where I want to see. I want to see how Purdy holds up. How I don't know how much they're going to actually play him, but in his reps, how he looks. I want to see how these receivers hold up, the O line, all of that stuff, right? And that's what I really want to see. I want to see positive stuff come out with how this offense looks against that Denver defense. Just because you mentioned it, man, they have the best cornerback, right? They have Dre Greenlaw over there, so we know how he plays and how good of a linebacker he is. Their defensive line is decent, like so. Yeah, I mean it's a good test, and I want to see how they do against that test. So for me, I'm really looking to see how that offense and how those reports come out with how Purdy looks, how that offense looks. Obviously, we know they're not going to give away too much. It's going to be very vanilla offense, but can they execute? And can they be consistent? Can they control the ball and not turn it over? Those are the things that I'm looking at.
Absolutely. Sky came in with a super chat, says, "Let's go. I pray for you and the fam, Jesse, are doing well. Go Ducks." That's right. And Brock Purdy is his GOAT. Thank you, Sky. I appreciate you. Go Ducks. Certainly always welcome with that comment. All right. I
What about you,
agree.
man? What do you? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought you were gonna
yeah.
skim through it.
No, no, no. I'm not going to skim through it. No, what I like about joint practices, and somebody in the chat said, "Hey, I'm just happy that we have joint practices again this year. Like last year, we missed out on those against the Saints, and because they just weren't healthy, they had to cancel them. We have two of them this year, Raiders and the Broncos. Joint practices are the best because it's the starters versus the starters. When you get into the preseason, starters may play, they may not. Some may play sparingly, but then, they might be playing against backups with the other team. So you really can't gauge a lot through the preseason game as far as what the team looks like starter wise. But definitely in these joint practices, I mean, these get intense. Every year there's fights between teams and joint practices. Like these guys get after it. So I'm very, very excited to see what happens with this offense. To your point, can Ricky Pearsall still continue to route people up? If they do put him on the outside, can he beat press? Christian McCaffrey, there's been a lot of questions about him. Obviously, he's healthy, but is he as explosive as he was? Somebody today, I think it was Barrows, came out and said, yeah, if he's not as good as 2023, he's very close. Like, okay, then let's see that. He should dominate in these practices. And then I want to also know CJ West. He's been dominating these one-on-ones, been dominating in 49ers practice. Why is that? Is that because he's good, or is that because the guys he's going up against aren't so good? So we're going to find that out. Does Denver's defensive line, can they dominate our offensive line? And does CJ West all of a sudden get stonewalled? Well, then that's not a good sign either. So I'm just curious to see all of it. Very excited to see how they match up. And, this is one of the better defenses in the NFL regardless. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. It's definitely going to be a lot of fun to watch. And we know that they're very well coached as well. So that's big.
For sure. For sure. And they got players on there that have something to prove, right? Those running backs have something to prove. So they're going to be out there trying to fight for their positions. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be a good test, right? I'm glad that it's against the team that has something to play for, is in that playoff picture, like you mentioned, fringe Super Bowl contenders, right? They feel like they have a shot in their division, even though their division has, Mahomes, but they feel like Kansas City is beatable. And yeah, man, it's going to be good to see a good test to see where they're actually at.
Yeah, absolutely. Joseph comes in with a good question. It says, Jesse, what is one reason they will win the Super Bowl? And don't say Brock or Moody. I would say one reason that they win the Super Bowl is that they've hit the last couple of years on these draft picks. So Ricky Pearsall continues to improve. Renardo Green, Pooney, Malik Mustafa comes back. And then all the guys this year, I mean, they spent 5 picks on the defense to start this draft. If 3 of those guys can be major contributors, along with those other guys last year taking a step up, then that would be the reason why. Brock Purdy can't do it alone. Jake Moody, we'll see about that. But as far as why they would win the Super Bowl, that, in my opinion, would be why. What do you think, Sunil?
Yeah, I'm going on the defensive side. The years that the 49ers have made it to the Super Bowl, nobody wanted to play that defense because of the physicality that they imposed. Like, wasn't it this last run to the Super Bowl where every team that played the 49ers lost the game right after the 49ers, right?
Yep.
So I think that they're built that way again, right? They have a lot of size on the defensive line. They're back to having a lot of depth on the defensive line, which is, I know, something you and Marco were really big about last season, when you felt like, hey, this team might not go as far as, it's not about the talent, it's about the depth just as much. And they're back to that. I'm so excited about this cornerback room. They have dogs led by Demo, right? He's feisty. He's somebody that likes to get up into people's face. And it looks like Upton is the same type of player. And we know Green can be that player as well. It looks like that, whether it be D Winters or maybe Nick Martin, that potentially Fred Warner has another running mate. So all of that stuff to me is very exciting, and reasons why this team can take a major leap going from, 0 to hero very quickly here.
Yeah, absolutely. Joseph Ernberg. Nope, got that one. Hold on. There was one more. Bill says, hey, Jesse, I've been away for a bit, still doing 4-man front, still killing it, man. I appreciate you. No, we stopped doing 4-man front initially because coach had some issues with his computer and he was getting it fixed. That's been resolved, but I stopped working with Bleacher Report. I decided to do something different. So I've got paid obligations on Tuesday, 2 of them on Tuesday and 1 of them on Wednesday. So those take precedent. So maybe we can get 4-man front going again, different day. We'll have to figure it out. But for now, we put it on the back burner. I love that show. Would love to do it again, but I just got a lot going on in life. So I got to prioritize my channel and, paid obligations certainly before anything else. So that's where it's at. All right, man. Last question for you, because to me, like I said, it is different, right? You got the preseason, which you're looking for certain things. You've got the joint practices, which you're looking for certain things. So when it comes to the preseason game, what are you hoping to see out of that preseason game?
Yeah, I just want to see. I want to see the culture that I know wins in this system,
Mm.
right? So guys flying to the ball, effort, physicality. Um, that's what I want to see, man. And to me, like, I don't think that the players that we want, that we were going to depend on, are going to get that much run in the preseason. So I don't know if like we'll see the team, like the talent, right? Because a lot of our talent is older. They're not going to play all of these preseason games. But what I want to see is that culture, man. Do these young guys, are they running? Are they flying? Are they physical? Because that means they're learning that from the guys that are there, and they're understanding the culture of this 49er team, especially under Saleh and, the offensive side as well. So that's what I want to see, man. Are these guys 49ers, right? And if we see that and we see that intensity, I think is going to bode well for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I see. I love that you brought that up. Somebody said no injuries. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But the culture was one of those things that I had kind of in the chamber, and you took it because I brought this up. I was hosting the NFC North roundtable just before this show, and I was talking to the Lions representative on that show. And I said, for me, what surprised me, it's a preseason game with the Lions losing, not a big deal. But when I look at what makes a Dan Campbell led team and what I look that makes Dan Campbell a good head coach, in my opinion, is that his teams are always prepared. They're always fighting, no matter what, much like Harbaugh coach teams. But in that preseason game, again, first preseason game, it's the Hall of Fame game, who cares, right? But I looked at the Chargers, who were very disciplined, very well coached. It didn't matter who the players are, but you could see that team is militant, no matter who was on the field. And then when I looked at Detroit, they were severely outcoached. They were making mistakes left and right, and that just, to me, it's like, well, okay, well, the Lions lost both their coordinators, and Dan Campbell is supposed to be the leader of this team. For that to happen was a little bit surprising to me. And so the reason I bring them up is because now I look at the 49ers and say, well, Robert Saleh is back in the building. Shanahan's obviously a very good head coach. I do not, under any circumstance, it's not about winning or losing, but if this team comes out and looks sloppy and there's penalties and they're turning the ball over, I don't care who the players are, that is a sign that this team isn't necessarily ready for the season. And so I'm looking for that culture to be there, to your point, and to prove that out regardless of who's on the field. And then I will also add that I want to see these rookies play, obviously, these second year guys play. But we talked about them earlier. Man, get Jake Moody some kicks, please. All the kicks he can get, we will take right now, for
You're
gosh
right.
sakes. And lastly, the special teams unit as a whole, I definitely want to see, because I think Brant Boyer, we can look at the special teams rankings and all of that. When he talked for the first time coming to the 49ers, I was sold and wanted to play special teams for this guy. He has so much passion around special teams. And a lot of special teams coaches aren't like that. It's like, oh, well, I was a defensive coordinator who lost my job and now I'm a special teams guy. Or I'm an offensive coordinator that they just kind of want me on the roster, so I'm just going to do this special teams thing. No, he's a lifetime special teams coach, and he has so much fire for being that. Hopefully the special teams unit shows out as well. So those are the things that I'm looking for.
I like it, man. It would be nice to get some wins, right? That would be nice too. But
Oh, for sure, we'll take that. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's I think I like all the things you mentioned too. Those are going to be big things to keep an eye on.
Tommy comes in with a troll comment. He says, Jesse told me that Kyler Murray is better than Josh Allen. Psych. Yeah, Sunil knows how much I love Josh Allen.
Yeah,
We've had
Josh
arguments
Allen
over
is
the phone about Josh.
Yeah, Josh Allen is Jesse's guy. There was a year there because me and Jesse go back and forth. I'm a Joe Burrow guy. He's a Josh Allen guy, and both of us like the other guy too. But I do it to troll Jesse as well. But Joe Burrow's coming back, making that a discussion again.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Sunil had me so tight one time through text that we almost stopped being friends over Josh Allen. So, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. All right, man. Sunil, it was awesome to do a show with you again. I think this is Wednesdays at the very least. We might end up bumping it back a little bit. We'll kind of play around once the season starts and whatnot and life happens and, all that. But either way, I think Wednesdays for sure we're going to keep. We'll figure out the time permanently going forward, but it was great to be back with you, man. Thank you so much. Looking forward to these shows all season long, brother.
Absolutely, brother. And for the chat, if you guys aren't subscribed to me, So Real Sports Talk TV, I'm gonna get back active this season. Definitely gonna be with Jesse at least one day a week. But if you guys want some more of my content, please subscribe to the channel. And love you guys' support.
Absolutely. Get over there and support them. Next time, just remind me. I'll kick the link out and throw it in the chat because these guys are lazy, man. I love you guys, but I know that they're lazy. If you don't just put the link in front of them, like I can't. My thumbs they stop working when I search for it. I don't know what to do. So you have to put the link in here for them. Otherwise, they just I already know you guys. You guys are too lazy. All right, y'all. Appreciate everybody that contributed in the chat. Much love.